My name is Cassandra Elliott. I'm 30 years old, and 3 weeks ago, my mother slid a piece of paper across the dining room table and told me I had two choices: pay $300,000 for my sister's wedding or lose my family forever. I looked at that paper. I looked at my mother. And then I looked at my sister, Vivian, who was sitting right there, filing her nails like the number on that page meant nothing. I picked up the paper, I read every line, and then I set it down, pushed back my chair, and said, "I'll need 7 days." My mother smiled like she'd already won. She had no idea what I was about to find, because that night, when I got home and opened my laptop, I didn't find a reason to pay. I found a reason to call the FBI. 7 days later, my entire family showed up at my front door. All of them: my mother, my sister, my aunt, my cousins. A convoy of 6 vehicles parked outside my house, like a funeral procession. I opened the door, and I said two words that changed everything. But before I take you there, before I walk you through every single thing I found, I need you to do something first. Hit that like button right now. Subscribe if you haven't already, and drop your city and the time you're watching this in the comments below. I genuinely want to know where in the world you're hearing this story, because what happened to me happens everywhere, in every city, in every family, and most people never talk about it. I'm talking about it. Let me take you back to the beginning. I grew up in Raleigh, North Carolina. Second daughter, middle class household. My father, Terrence Elliott, drove delivery trucks for 23 years and never once complained about the hours. My mother, Marlene Elliott, managed a pediatric dental office and ran our home with the same precision she used to run appointment schedules. Clean house, hot dinner, church on Sundays. That was us. My sister Vivian is 2 years younger than me. She's always been the one people look at twice, not because she demands attention, though she does, but because she has this magnetic quality, the kind where she walks into a room and something shifts. My mother called it grace. My father called it personality. I just called it Vivian, because that's what it was, just her being herself and the whole world adjusting to accommodate. I loved her for it most of my life. I grew up differently. While Vivian floated, I grounded. I was the one who read the fine print, studied accounting at NC State on a partial scholarship. I supplemented with 2 part-time jobs, graduated with honors, took a position in a financial services firm in Charlotte, North Carolina, and spent the next 7 years building something steady. By the time I turned 30, I had a 401k that was ahead of schedule, a spotless credit profile, and $90,000 in personal savings that I'd been quietly growing since my first paycheck. I also had a plan: a 2 bedroom condo in the No-Da neighborhood of Charlotte, artsy, up and coming, near the coffee shop I went to every Saturday morning. I was pre-approved. I'd done the walkthrough twice. I was 48 hours from signing. I want you to remember that detail: 48 hours, because that's when my mother called and told me the family needed me home in Raleigh. Urgent. Marlene Elliott doesn't say urgent unless the ceiling is falling. So I drove the 2 hours and walked into the house where I grew up, and everything that I'd spent a decade building started to crack. The dining room table was set the way it gets for serious conversations. No food, no candles, just 4 chairs, two on each side like a negotiation. My mother sat on the far side. Vivian sat next to her with her left hand resting on the table, a diamond on her ring finger that I was seeing for the first time. "She's engaged," my mother said, before I'd even taken my coat off, "to Marcus Webb." Marcus Webb. I knew the name. Vivian had been dating him for 8 months. I'd met him once at a birthday dinner. Quiet, polished, came from old Carolina money. His family owned commercial real estate across 3 counties. "Congratulations," I said, and I meant it. I sat down across from them. Then my mother slid the paper across the table. It was a printed spreadsheet: column headers, venue, catering, photography, florals, gown, entertainment, accommodations, miscellaneous. Every line had a number next to it. At the bottom, a total, $307,500. I looked up from the paper. Is this a quote? It's the budget, my mother said. For the wedding? For Vivian's wedding, yes. I looked at Vivian. She was looking at her ring. Who's paying for this? I asked. My mother folded her hands on the table the way she does when she's already decided something and is simply waiting for you to catch up. We were hoping you could cover it. You're in the best position financially. Vivian and Marcus are young. They're just starting out. I ran the number in my head. $307,500. That was my savings account, my down payment fund, my emergency reserve, and then some. Mom, I'm 48 hours from closing on my condo. The condo can wait. Your sister's wedding cannot. I looked at Vivian again. This time she looked back. And here's the thing about my sister that I've never been able to explain properly to people who didn't grow up with her. She looked sorry, genuinely. Her eyes were soft and her lips were pressed together, and she had the expression of someone who knows they're asking too much and feels bad about it. That expression has gotten her through a lot of doors. I need to think, I said. Of course, my mother said. But Cassandra, if you walk away from this family when we need you, I want you to understand what that means. We have helped you your entire life. We co-signed your first apartment lease. We lent you money when your car needed that transmission replaced. Family takes care of family. The transmission loan was $1,400, 7 years ago. I paid it back in 3 months. I drove home to Charlotte that night with the spreadsheet folded in my jacket pocket and a headache forming behind my left eye. And somewhere around exit 49 on I-85, I started doing what I always do when something doesn't add up. I started asking questions. Marcus Webb's family had money, real money, commercial real estate across 3 counties. So why was my mother presenting me with a budget sheet for their son's wedding? Why wasn't his family contributing? Why was this being framed as my obligation and not a shared responsibility? And the one that kept circling back, why $307,500? Not around $300,000, not somewhere between $250 and $300. A precise, itemized spreadsheet number. The kind of number someone had already spent time with. I got home at 10:30 p.m. My condo closing documents were on the kitchen counter. I pushed them aside and opened my laptop. I pulled my credit report. I do this quarterly, occupational habit from 7 years in financial services. You review the numbers. You verify the data. You don't assume everything is fine just because nobody told you it wasn't. I pulled Equifax first. My score was 504. I sat completely still for 11 seconds. I know it was 11 because I counted them without meaning to. My score 3 months ago was 771. I pulled TransUnion, 487. I pulled Experian, 521. I read the accounts listed. There were 4 that I did not recognize. A personal loan for $85,000 from an online lender I had never heard of, a credit card with a $40,000 limit maxed out with 18 months of missed payments, a second personal loan for $95,000, a retail line of credit for $28,000 from a home furnishing brand I had never set foot in. Every account was delinquent. Some had gone to collections. My name was on every single one. My social security number, my date of birth, but not my signature, not my address. The mailing address on every account was a P.O. box, not in Charlotte, in Raleigh. $248,000 in fraudulent debt under my name. And my mother had just asked me to pay $307,500 for a wedding. The numbers weren't the same, but they were in the same neighborhood. And Terrence Elliott, hadn't taught me to count for nothing. I knew when 2 figures were close enough to be connected. I called my closest friend Dominique at 11:15 p.m. She picked up immediately because that's who she is. I told her everything: the dinner, the spreadsheet, the credit reports. When I finished, she was quiet for 8 full seconds. Cass, you need a lawyer tonight. Are you still with me? Because I need you to stay with me here. Drop a comment right now, just say I'm here, because what I'm about to tell you is the part that broke me open, and I don't want you to miss it. Hit subscribe so you're notified the moment the next story drops. Now let's keep going. Dominique worked in forensic accounting for a litigation firm in Charlotte. She knew attorneys the way I knew spreadsheets. By midnight, she'd given me a name: Loretta Sims, identity theft and financial fraud attorney, based in Charlotte, former federal prosecutor. I emailed Loretta Sims at 12:47 a.m. with a summary of everything, credit reports attached, the dinner, the spreadsheet, the P.O. box address. She responded at 6:15 a.m. 4 sentences. Miss Elliott, this appears to be a clear case of familial identity theft. Do not contact your family. Do not close on the condo. Come to my office tomorrow at 10 a.m. I called the title company at 8 a.m. and delayed the closing. The agent sounded confused. I told her there was a credit discrepancy I needed to resolve. She said she'd hold the file for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I wrote it on a sticky note and put it on my refrigerator where I'd see it every morning. Loretta Sims's office was clean, minimal, and very serious. She wore reading glasses that she took off and set on the desk when she looked at me directly. She did that a lot, looked at me directly. She'd already reviewed my emails. She had the credit reports printed and annotated. Before we talk strategy, she said, I want you to check something. Open your USPS informed delivery account. If someone redirected your mail, there will be a record. I opened it on my phone right there at her desk. Mail forwarding history. There it was, a change of address request filed 2 years and 3 months ago. All mail addressed to Cassandra Elliott at my previous Raleigh address, the apartment I'd lived in before moving to Charlotte, forwarded to P.O. Box 882, Raleigh, North Carolina. The request was signed Cassandra Elliott. I hadn't signed it. Who has access to your old address? Loretta asked. My mother. She still sends cards there sometimes. I never officially updated her after I moved. Who knew your social security number? I thought about the tax returns. My father had done family taxes together until I was 24. My mother handled all the paperwork. She knew every number in our financial lives. My mother, I said. Loretta nodded slowly. She wasn't surprised. Check your filing cabinet when you get home. Look for any document you signed in the last 3 years that your mother had access to. A proxy form, a permission slip, anything with your full legal signature. I went home that afternoon and went through every folder in my filing cabinet. Bottom drawer, second folder from the back. A notarized authorization form I'd signed 2.5 years ago. My mother had asked me to sign it before I went on a work trip to Atlanta. Just so I can handle anything that comes up while you're away, sweetheart. The form had my full signature, the same upward slant I've had since high school, the same loop on the double S in Cassandra. I photographed it. I photographed one of the loan applications Loretta had printed. I held my phone up and looked at them side by side. The forged signature on the loan application was close, very close, but the capital C started differently. In my real signature, the C opens wide before the curl. In the forgery, the curl came first, a habit from someone who writes their own C differently. My mother's name is Marlene. She doesn't write a C at the start of anything, but Vivian does. Vivian Christine Elliott. I emailed Loretta the photographs and wrote one line: check Vivian's handwriting. Loretta called me back within 2 hours. The USPS P.O. box, she said. I submitted a records request. It's registered to Vivian Elliott, opened 2 years and 4 months ago. Not my mother. Vivian. I sat on my bathroom floor. Not dramatically, I just sort of lowered myself to the tile because standing felt like too much effort for what I was processing. My sister. My little sister who sent me care packages when I had bad weeks, who called me on my birthday before midnight so I'd hear her voice first, Who had that expression at the dinner table? The soft eyes, the pressed lips, the expression I'd read as guilt but was something else entirely. She'd been driving what, exactly, with $248,000 in loans opened in my name? I pulled up social media on my phone, something Loretta had told me. Don't just look at documents, look at the life the money bought. Vivian's Instagram was public. 18 months ago, a living room I didn't recognize, new sectional sofa, built-in shelving. Finally got my space right. Obsessed. $22,000. The retail line of credit on my credit report was from a home furnishing company. $22,000. 14 months ago, a trip to Tuscany, 2 weeks, her and two girlfriends, living my best life and not apologizing for it. 10 months ago, a handbag I recognized because I'd looked at it myself once and walked away from the price. A Celine tote, $1,500. And 8 months ago, when she started dating Marcus Webb, an engagement ring, posts in restaurants I couldn't afford to eat in, a vacation to Montserrat, a closet transformation video where she walked through what I now realized was a completely redecorated apartment. My sister had built a life, a beautiful, curated, fully funded life, on my name. For the first time since this started, I cried. Not loudly, just quietly, sitting on my bathroom floor at 9 p.m. on a Thursday with my phone in my hands and my sister's Instagram open. I'd been so proud of her. That was the part that hurt the most. I'd seen her life from the outside and thought, she's doing it, she's building something. She was, just not with her own money. I let myself have 20 minutes. Then I got up, washed my face, and called Loretta. What do I do next? I asked. Document everything, she said. Then decide what kind of daughter and sister you want to be going forward. What do you mean? You can handle this privately, try to resolve it within the family, or you can file now and let the agencies handle it. What would you recommend? She paused. I'd recommend giving them one chance. 7 days. Then we file everything. Every agency, every creditor, every bureau. 7 days. I sent the text to my mother at 11:58 p.m. that Thursday. Mom, I know about the accounts, the loans, the P.O. box. I know about all of it. I'm giving you and Vivian 7 days to come to me honestly and work with my attorney on a resolution. After 7 days, I file with every applicable agency. The clock starts tonight. Delivered. Read at 12:06 a.m. No reply. Day 1. My mother called at 7:30 a.m. Her voice was careful, the way a person's voice gets when they've been rehearsing since before dawn. Cassandra, I think there's been a misunderstanding. There's no misunderstanding, Mom. You have to understand that we were going to fix it before you ever needed to know. Did you know Vivian was using my name? A pause. 4 seconds. 5. Your sister made some decisions I wasn't fully aware of. That's not an answer. Everything we did was to give Vivian a good start. You had a good start, baby. You've always been so capable. She needed more help. And there it was, not even disguised. My capability was their justification. Because I could build something with my own hands, my name was available for borrowing. Because I didn't need rescuing, I was the resource used to rescue someone else. I said, 6 days left, Mom, and I hung up. Day 2. Vivian called from a number I didn't recognize. I picked up before I realized it was her. Cass, please, just listen. I'm listening. I was drowning. Marcus's family, they have expectations. I couldn't show up to meet his parents looking like I had nothing. Mom said we could borrow against your credit, just temporarily, just until… Vivian, you drove 2 years of debt through my social security number without asking me. I know that, and I'm so sorry. I'm genuinely so sorry. Are you sorry you did it, or are you sorry I found out? Silence. 6 seconds. Sudden. She didn't answer, and the silence was its own answer. I said, 5 days left, and I ended the call. Day 3 was when the extended family arrived. My Aunt Rhonda, my mother's older sister, called at noon. I know my mother had gotten to her first because Aunt Rhonda opened with, "Your mother hasn't slept in 2 days." I'm sorry to hear that. Cassandra Ann Elliott, do you understand what you're threatening to do to this family? I understand exactly what I'm doing. Your mother has sacrificed everything for you girls, everything. And now you're going to call lawyers and investigators over a misunderstanding between sisters? Loretta's voice was in my head. Don't share evidence with anyone except law enforcement. Aunt Rhonda, I can't share the details right now, but I promise you there is more to this story than what you've been told. I know your mother, Cassandra. She would never. I hope you'll trust me until you have the full picture. She huffed. Your grandmother would be heartbroken. She hung up. That afternoon, my mother created a group text. 14 people, extended family, cousins, my mother's friends who'd watched me grow up, people who called themselves my aunties. My father's side of the family. Terrence's first message: Cassandra is going through something right now. Please keep our family in your prayers and encourage her to do the right thing by her sister. Then the flood, 29 messages in 2 hours. Not one person asked what actually happened. Not one person said, "Wait, what are the details?" They'd all gotten the edited version, the one where I was simply a cold, capable daughter who refused to help. I screenshotted every message. Then I muted the thread, put my phone in my desk drawer, and went back to work. 4 days left. I need to pause right here and ask you something. Has anyone in your family ever framed your boundary as betrayal? Has anyone ever made you feel like standing up for yourself was the same as abandoning them? If that hits something in you, share this story right now. Text it to one person who needs to hear it. Because this next part, this is where everything changes. I was making coffee on Saturday morning when someone knocked on my front door. I looked through the peephole. Vivienne, standing in my hallway wearing a gray hoodie and no makeup. She was holding a brown paper bag from the bakery 3 blocks away that she knew I loved. Almond croissants. She looked 22 years old. She looked like my little sister. That's the cruelest trick grief plays on you. The people who hurt you most are still themselves. They still look like who they were before you found out what they did. I opened the door. I didn't step back. "I just want to talk," she said. "You can talk from there." Her chin dropped. "Cass, please. Did you open those accounts in my name?" She looked at the bag, at me, at the bag again. "Mom said it would only be Vivian. Yes or no?" I signed some things. Mom handled most of it, but yes, I knew. There it was. Not "I had no idea," not "Mom did it all without me." I signed some things. I knew. "Go home," I said, "and tell Mom 3 days left." I closed the door. I stood in my kitchen and picked up the almond croissant bag she'd left on my doormat, without my noticing. Still warm. I ate one. It was very good. And I cried for exactly 5 minutes. Then I opened my laptop and emailed Loretta. Day 4. Vivian confirmed she signed documents and had knowledge. Moving forward. Loretta's office Monday morning. Day 5. She spread the documents across the conference table like she was setting a board for chess. FTC Identity Theft Report, Form 14039, filed with my name, the fraudulent accounts, and the mail forwarding evidence. Police report with Charlotte Mecklenburg PD, she'd already prepared the template. Credit freeze applications for Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. FBI Internet Crime Complaint Center submission. Formal dispute letters to all 4 fraudulent creditors with my identity theft affidavit. And one more document I hadn't expected: a civil recovery filing against the parties who had benefited financially from the fraud. "This one," Loretta said, tapping the civil recovery document, "is what gets their attention." I studied the page. What does it do? It creates a legal obligation for restitution. If Vivian benefited financially from the fraudulent accounts, the furniture, the travel, the lifestyle, she can be compelled to repay those amounts. Same with your mother if she directed the scheme. I hadn't thought about restitution. I'd thought about stopping the bleeding, clearing my name, getting my credit back. I hadn't thought about what came after. What are my chances? Loretta took off her reading glasses and looked at me directly. With a full confession from Vivian and documentary evidence tying the P.O. box to her name, your chances are strong, very strong. I looked at the documents laid out on the table. 6 months of someone else's decisions. 2.5 years of mail I never received. 4 accounts I never opened. A condo I hadn't been able to close on. I looked up at Loretta. Do we file everything on day 7? Everything, she said. No extensions. I nodded. Then let's make sure it's ready. Day 5. My mother called at 9 p.m. Her voice was the coldest I'd ever heard it. If you do this, I will call your firm. I will tell them you fabricated financial records against your own family out of jealousy over your sister's engagement. I will make sure every person in Raleigh and Charlotte knows what kind of daughter you are. I let her finish. Are you done? I asked. I am telling you what happens if you… Mom, you forged my signature on $248,000 in loan applications. You redirected my mail to a P.O. box for 2.5 years so I'd never find out. You coached Vivian to sign documents under my identity. And then you invited me home and told me to pay $307,000 for a wedding. Silence. Complete silence. I gave you 7 days to come to me honestly. You've spent 5 of them threatening me. 2 days left. I hung up. Day 5 was also when my father, who had been silent through all of it, called from his cell phone at 11 p.m. Terrence Elliott, who drove trucks for 23 years, who taught me to balance a checkbook, who told me once that your name is the only thing nobody can take from you. He said, Cass, just my name. I didn't know the full extent, he said. I want you to know that. I knew Vivian was struggling and your mother was helping her. I didn't know how. I believed him. Part of me believed him. But I also knew that not knowing is sometimes a choice you make so you don't have to act. You could have asked, Dad. He was quiet for a long time. I know, he said. I'm sorry, baby girl. I'd been waiting for those 2 words for 5 days, and they still hurt because they were too late, and he knew it. 2 days left, Dad. He didn't call back. Day 6 was silence. Complete, total silence. No calls, no texts, no group messages. The kind of silence that means regrouping. I went to work. I had lunch with Dominique, who asked how I was and listened to the whole answer without trying to fix anything. I came home, I microwaved soup, I sat on my couch, and I realized something in the quiet of that evening. I wasn't angry anymore. I was just clear. The anger had burned itself out somewhere around day 3. What was left was something harder and cleaner, a complete picture of what had happened, who had done it, and what I was going to do about it. Day 7, Tuesday. I sat at my kitchen table at 9 a.m. with a pen in my hand. I signed every document. My hand was completely steady. Loretta filed electronically by noon. At 4:45 p.m., I heard the first car pull up outside, then a second, then a third. I walked to the window. My mother's Lexus, Vivian's car, Aunt Rhonda's SUV, 2 cousins, a family friend who'd known me since I was 8 years old. 6 vehicles, parked along my street like a procession. I texted Loretta, they're here. She texted back, already in the parking garage, coming up. I took a slow breath. I opened the door before they knocked. My mother stood at the front of the group. She was dressed well, blazer, earrings, the composed face she wears to difficult conversations. Behind her, Vivian stood with her arms folded and her eyes on the floor. Aunt Rhonda flanked my mother's right. 2 cousins, Jasmine and Deshawn, hung back near the stairwell. Our family friend, Miss Patricia, stood at the edge of the group looking like she wasn't sure why she'd been brought along. My mother spoke first. "We came to settle this, as a family." "You're 7 days too late for that," I said. "Cassandra, you don't give your mother a deadline." "I didn't give my mother a deadline," I said. "I gave the person who forged my signature on a federal loan application a deadline. Those aren't the same person." My mother's jaw tightened. "This is between us. You didn't need to involve strangers." Loretta stepped to my shoulder. She held out a business card with the calm of someone who has done this 100 times. "Loretta Sims, attorney. I specialize in identity theft and financial fraud. Please come in." My mother looked at the card. Something moved across her face, the first real crack in the composure she'd walked in with. They came inside. Nobody sat. I laid the documents on the coffee table, one at a time. No rush. Between 2.5 years ago and last Friday, 4 fraudulent accounts were opened in my name. One personal loan for $85,000, a second for $95,000, a credit card with a $40,000 limit, maxed and delinquent, a retail credit line for $28,000. Total, $248,000 in debt I never authorized. I pointed to the USPS record. My mail was redirected to a P.O. box registered to Vivian Elliott. Every billing statement, every late notice, every collection letter, intercepted for 2.5 years, so I'd never know. Vivian looked at the floor. "These signatures were forged." I pointed to the loan applications. Vivian confirmed she signed some of them. My mother provided access to my personal information and directed the scheme. The room was very quiet. Aunt Rhonda reached forward and picked up one of the loan applications. She held it the way you hold something you suddenly don't want to be touching. She looked at the signature line. She looked at me. She looked at my mother. "Marlene," she said, just the name, like a question and an accusation in the same word. My mother's composure held for exactly 3 more seconds. Then she said, "We were going to pay it back. Once Marcus's family, once the wedding gave Vivian the stability she needed to." "You were going to pay it back using wedding gift money from a $307,000 wedding I was supposed to fund." Miss Patricia made a small sound. Her hand went to her mouth. Loretta spoke then, measured and unhurried, like a weather forecast. "Redirecting someone's mail without their authorization is mail fraud, federal offense, up to 5 years per count. Opening financial accounts under another person's identity is identity theft, up to 15 years. Forging signatures on loan applications is bank fraud, up to 30 years. She let the numbers settle. "These aren't civil matters," she continued. "Every agency involved treats them as federal crimes. The FTC report was filed this morning. The police report was filed this afternoon. A credit freeze application has been submitted to all 3 bureaus. An IC3 complaint has been submitted to the FBI." Deshawn took a step back toward the hallway. Jasmine crossed her arms and looked at the floor. My mother said, "Cassandra, I am your mother. Then you should have protected me." That landed. I watched it land on every face in the room. Aunt Rhonda looked away. Miss Patricia closed her eyes. Vivian made a sound like a small, quiet exhale. Even my mother flinched, a micro-expression. There and gone, but I saw it. "A civil recovery filing has also been submitted," Loretta added. "This establishes a legal basis for financial restitution from parties who directly benefited from the fraudulent accounts." Vivian's head came up sharply for the first time. She looked at Loretta. "What does that mean?" "It means the life you built using those accounts is now part of the legal record. The furniture, the travel, the wardrobe, any financial benefit derived from those accounts can be subject to a restitution order." Vivian's engagement ring caught the light when her hand dropped to her side. I spoke to the room, quietly, evenly, the same way I'd present a finding to a board of directors. I gave 7 days. No one came to me honestly. No one offered a plan. Instead, I got threats, a group text designed to isolate me, and a convoy at my door. So this morning, I signed every document and let the agencies take it from here. I looked at my mother. "I didn't destroy this family. The decision to use my name, my credit, my future without asking, that's what destroyed it. I'm just the one who finally stopped pretending it didn't happen. Loretta closed her briefcase. The click was very loud in the silence. Nobody spoke. And for the first time in 30 years, Marlene Elliott had nothing left to say. I just told my entire family, to their faces, that I reported them to federal agencies. And I need you to tell me in the comments, would you have waited 7 days or would you have filed immediately? I genuinely want to know. And if someone in your life needs to hear this story, share it right now. Because this ending, this is the part that matters most. They left the way they'd arrived, but slower. My mother walked out first, straight-backed, silent. She didn't look at me. She walked to her car and sat in it for 4 minutes before driving away. I watched from the window. Vivian was last. She stood in my doorway with her keys in her hand. She looked small in a way I'd never noticed before. I really did love you, she said. I still do. I know, that's not the question. What's the question? The question is whether you knew what you were doing was wrong while you were doing it, and I think we both know the answer. She walked to the elevator without another word. Aunt Rhonda stopped in front of me on her way out. She didn't apologize. Aunt Rhonda doesn't move that fast. But she looked at me with something different than what she'd walked in with. I didn't have the full picture, she said. I know. I'll have it now. She left. Miss Patricia squeezed my hand on her way past. Just that. No words, just a squeeze. From a woman who'd known me since I was 8 years old and could apparently recognize the full story without being told every detail. Loretta gathered the last of her documents and set a hand briefly on my shoulder. You did exactly right, she said. It doesn't feel like it. It will, she said. Give it time. The legal process is nothing like it looks on television. It's slow, it's paperwork, it's certified letters and automated responses, and progress measured in increments so small you'd miss them if you weren't watching. But it moves. Within 60 days of filing, all 4 fraudulent accounts had been formally flagged. 3 creditors completed their fraud investigations and confirmed identity theft within 90 days. The forged signatures did not survive comparison against my verified signature on file with the North Carolina DMV. The USPS mail forwarding evidence was unambiguous. The P.O. Box registration tied directly to Vivian. $183,000 of the $248,000 in fraudulent debt was removed from my credit profile within 4 months. The remaining $65,000, the 2 personal loans, required longer investigations because online lenders have looser verification systems. That's how the fraud went undetected in the first place. But Loretta submitted the FTC affidavit to both, and collection activity was frozen while investigations ran. My credit score climbed, 504 to $589 in 60 days, 589 to $641 in 90 days. Still not where it was, but moving. The FBI field office in Raleigh contacted my mother and Vivian for voluntary interviews within 8 weeks of my IC3 filing. Separately, my mother retained a white-collar defense attorney from Cary, North Carolina. Vivian retained her own. The engagement to Marcus Webb was quietly called off 2 weeks after the FBI interview request. I heard this from Dominique, who heard it from a mutual friend. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt tired. Terrence, my father, cooperated with investigators voluntarily. His attorney confirmed he had no direct involvement in the scheme, that he had not signed or forged documents, and that he had not knowingly benefited from the fraudulent accounts. This matched what he'd told me on day 5. He didn't know the how, just that Marlene was helping Vivian. The distinction mattered legally. It didn't fully matter to me yet, but I was working on that. My mother's attorney negotiated with the U.S. Attorney's Office, full cooperation, full disclosure, in exchange for consideration on charges. She gave them everything: the timeline, the method, the proxy form she'd used to study my handwriting. She confirmed that she had directed Vivian on which accounts to open, which lenders to use, which information to enter. In her deposition, she said something that Loretta relayed to me later. She said, "Cassandra was always going to be fine. She was built for it. Vivian needed the runway." Built for it. As if strength is something that makes you available for use, as if being capable means you forfeit the right to be protected. I wrote that sentence on a piece of paper and put it in the filing cabinet where I keep documents that matter, not because I need to remember how it made me feel, because I never want to say something like that about another person ever. 6 months after I walked into Roletta's office with 3 credit reports and a headache, I sat across from a mortgage loan officer at a Charlotte credit union. Her name was Angela. She had reading glasses similar to Roletta's. She reviewed my corrected credit profile, my income documentation, my verified accounts. She looked up. "Your score is 724. Everything looks clean. I don't see any obstacles here." I said, "I'd like to move forward." She smiled. "Let's get started." The condo closing was on a Thursday in March. The original condo, the Noda 2-bedroom, had sold to someone else while I was dealing with everything. I'd been disappointed for about 48 hours. Then I found the other one, a corner unit in a building 4 blocks away. Slightly larger, better light, a small balcony where, if you angled your chair right, you could see the trees. I signed the papers at 10 a.m. 40-something pages of terms, disclosures, commitment letters. I read every line. I initialed every page. When I reached the final signature block, I paused just for a second. Not because I was afraid, because I wanted to feel it fully. The last time my name had appeared on financial documents, it was someone else's handwriting, someone practicing my signature, getting the loop right on the capital C. This time, the pen was in my hand. This time, the choice was mine. This time, the home was mine. Cassandra Elliott. My handwriting, my signature, my name. Dominique helped me move on a Saturday in April. She brought coffee, a playlist she'd titled Cassandra's Era, and 3 friends I'd known since my first year in Charlotte. We carried boxes up 2 flights of stairs, assembled furniture, laughed at the instruction manuals, ordered pizza at 6 p.m., and sat on my new balcony until almost midnight. I hung a small brass key hook beside my front door, the kind you get at a hardware store for $3. Every time I walk in and see it, it means the same thing. This is my home, signed in my name, by my hand, no one else's. I froze my credit permanently after closing. Every time I need to open an account or apply for anything, I authorize a temporary lift myself, a PIN, a phone call, a code. It adds 5 minutes to every transaction. I have never once been annoyed by those 5 minutes. I changed every password, every security question, every mailing address tied to any account I own. 2-factor authentication across everything. A Charlotte P.O. box in my name alone with a key only I have ever touched. These are the walls I should have had all along. They're not paranoia, they're maintenance. With my mother, I agreed to written correspondence only. No calls, letters. Short, careful letters that started arriving about 8 weeks after the legal proceedings began. Her therapist's handwriting is all over the phrasing, the careful language, the accountability without excuse. I read every letter. I haven't written back yet. The door isn't locked. I just need more time to separate the mother who is sorry from the mother who practiced my signature on a proxy form I signed in good faith. They are the same person. That's the hardest part. With Vivian, there is no contact. Not yet. Maybe not ever in the form it used to be. Before I can have a conversation with her that means anything, I need to hear her say what she knew, when she knew it, and that she understood what she was doing while she was doing it. She hasn't said that yet. Maybe she will. My father calls every Sunday. Brief calls, 15 minutes, mostly ordinary. Weather, the news, a podcast he listened to that I might like. He doesn't bring up what happened unless I do. And I almost never do. He carries it differently than the others.
He carries it like a person carries something they didn't build, but didn't stop either, heavy and quiet. We're working on it, slowly, honestly, which is the only way anything real gets built. Aunt Rhonda sent a card in February. No explanation, no apology, just a card. A plain one, blue, with a flower in the corner. She wrote, "I see you, Cassandra. I should have asked." That was it. 3 sentences. For Aunt Rhonda, that's a lot. Dominique, who picked up the phone at 11 p.m. on a Thursday night when I needed her most, gets a standing lunch date the first Saturday of every month. No agenda, just the two of us and good food and the kind of friendship that doesn't require you to be okay when you're not.
It's a Sunday morning in May. I'm sitting on my balcony with coffee that's still too hot and a book I've been trying to finish for 6 weeks. The trees on the street below are green. The air smells like someone nearby is grilling already at 9 a.m., which I respect. I think about what my mother said the night she called with threats on day 5. Cassandra was always going to be fine. She was built for it. She wasn't wrong that I was going to be fine. She was wrong about what that means. Being capable doesn't make you available. Being strong doesn't mean your name is a resource. Being the one who figured it out on her own doesn't mean you signed up to absorb the damage other people create. There's a version of loyalty that asks you to stay silent about what was done to you because speaking makes the family uncomfortable. That version of loyalty is not loyalty. It's silence wearing loyalty's clothes. I spent a long time wearing someone else's clothes, someone else's debt, someone else's choices. And the day I took them off and stood in what was actually mine, the condo application, the legal filings, the 7-day clock, was the most honest thing I had ever done for myself. Not revenge, not retaliation, clarity. I didn't win my family back. I didn't get an apology that fixed anything. I didn't walk away with a check and a ribbon on it. What I got was my name back, my credit score, which as of last week hit 741, my home, which catches the afternoon light exactly right, my sense of what I am worth, which was the first thing they took and the last thing I recovered. The coffee is finally the right temperature. I take a sip. From the balcony, I can see 3 trees that will be spectacular in October. I intend to be here when they turn. That's my story. And I know some of you are sitting with your own version of it right now. Maybe not $248,000, maybe not federal agencies, but that same feeling. The moment you realize the people who were supposed to protect you were the ones using you. If you've been holding on to that feeling and wondering if speaking up makes you the bad one, it doesn't. Telling the truth about what happened to you is not betrayal. It's the first honest thing you can do for yourself. If this story moved you, drop a comment and tell me, did you give them the 7 days or did you file right away? There's no wrong answer. I've been on both sides of that decision, and I understand both. If someone in your life is going through something like this, a family member using their name, their credit, their silence, share this video with them right now. That share might be the thing that makes them feel less alone. Hit subscribe so you're here for the next story. And remember this, your name belongs to you. It was yours before anyone else knew it. Nobody gets to borrow it without asking. Not for love, not for family, not for any reason. Not ever. See you in the next one.